Do you prefer teaching in person or online?
In person.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Individual student progress or overall class performance?
Oh, that's hard. I'm going to go individual.
Sit front or back of the classroom?
Front because I have terrible eyesight.
Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert.
Fiction or non-fiction?
Non-fiction, mostly.
Algebra or geometry?
That's unfair. That's like asking you to pick your favorite child. I know I'm supposed to give you a fast answer, but I'm going to go geometry.
Street food or fine dining?
Street food.
Very good.
There you go. I tried my best.
That's a really good assessment of a person, I think.
Yeah, it gives you a real good read.
I was a bit shocked when you said geometry over algebra because
Oh,
algebra
that's
is
a tough
used
one.
in everything. Like,
It is. I'll tell you the reason why I selected geometry. This goes right back to one of your first questions, Kevin. I spend a lot of time communicating mathematics to people who probably wouldn't choose to have mathematics communicated to them and maybe are a little nervous about it. Geometry is something which you can put an image, a piece of art, for example, or a stunning, building. You can put that in front of anyone. And even if they say like, I'm the staunchest non-maths person ever, they can appreciate the visual that they see in front of them. We can't help it. Like I said before, it's a very human thing. And so I love that it touches something that's deep and visceral in everyone. I love algebra. I do. It is this superpower to be able to solve incredible problems. But when most people meet it, they're kind of like, oh, this is the thing I was warned about, right? And it just seems so symbolic and difficult to comprehend. So powerful, yes, but at least in my work, geometry is what I often reach for.
I could feel you tense up there, Oliver. I felt that you weren't happy with that answer. I'm interested, Eddie, in the reach and influence that YouTube has given you. And we talk a lot in my work about the impact that teachers and leaders have in their classroom and on the classroom next door and on the school down the road. You truly have a global reach. And so your influence and impact, I think, fairly can be said to be right across the world. And just as an aside, you helped me with differentiating inverse trigonomic functions last night. So thank you. That was a recent video that you put up that I just needed a little bit of help with. So I appreciate that. What was the pivotal moment for you that saw you grab at YouTube as a tool to work on?
Yeah, this is, for me, I can't believe it's been this long actually now. As of us recording this, it'll be 12 years actually that I've been doing this, which is mind-boggling. It's long enough actually that I remember one time I was in an airport and this family, a husband and a wife, were just standing at the luggage carousel and they said, excuse me, are you that maths teacher guy? And I said, hi, I'm Eddie, nice to meet you. And the mum said, thank you for putting your videos out there. Our son used to watch them and he really benefited from them when he was in primary school. And I said, that's great. What year is he in now? And this mum said to me, no, he's an accountant now. And I thought, wow, I've been doing this that long that's where people have gotten to. Probably the pivotal moment was not necessarily on purpose when it comes to a global audience. In 2012, I was teaching a student who was very sick. He was immediately pulled out of school to receive treatment in hospital. And as most teachers who are listening know, students miss school for all kinds of different reasons. And we want to do the best we can to be able to help students, if they can, catch up while they're away from school. Maybe it's for travel, for sport, or representing the school and things like that. And so for this boy, I knew, because I'd had that experience of struggling to learn maths when I was at school, I knew that if all you did was hand me a textbook and say, off you go, we're going to cover this chapter while you're away, and then when you come back, we're just going to move on to the next exercise, right? Had you done that to me when I was in year 10, as this boy was when he had to take time off school, I know that I would really have struggled, even more than I already did, to understand anything without a human being explaining those things to me. Certainly, this is not a criticism of textbook authors, it's just the nature of the medium, but, there are often lines in the working of a problem, which I, as a trained maths teacher, will look at and I'll say, what possessed you to think that you would do this and then that next? And it often takes me, minutes, hours, weeks to beat my head against a brick wall and realize, this is what they were trying to do. And then I can explain that. They're doing that because that's the limitation of the medium and they're trying to be succinct. And if they explained every single line forever, their textbook will be 3,000 pages long. So they're not going to do that, right? But I knew I could do better for this student. And at the time, this was just when smartphones were starting to have cameras in them that were not the resolution of a potato. So I thought, you know what? I've got a camera in my pocket right now. It's not going to be amazing quality, but you'll be able to read the blackboard. I've been teaching long enough that I was writing on a blackboard. And so that was kind of the spark that ignited all of that. And I should comment that I did that for a long time. And I think the best way to say it is it went relatively unnoticed because there was no big publication strategy or anything like that. That was not the goal that I had from the beginning when you talk about global reach, but it's kind of happened quite organically over time. So I'm always amazed at where I will encounter people who will say, hey, I watched your videos from all different corners of the country and even overseas as well.
And how has that evolved? Because I watch, I haven't gone too deep into the archives, Eddie, I apologise, but it's fair to say you've got a fairly lo-fi approach to your videos. It looks like you've got a whiteboard and a whiteboard marker and a camera on a tripod and you're up there doing your thing, usually with, heads of students in the background. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of bells and whistles that I think a lot of other explainers on YouTube or other tools might use. How have you grown that engagement, do you think? Because that as an approach is pretty honest and it's just quite direct. What is it that you think that's contributed to that growth and that engagement?
I think this actually gets to, Oliver, when you were asking me this or that questions before, I know it might be a bit surprising for someone with a YouTube channel to say in person rather than online, but I actually think that's part of the secret. So I have had many videos that I've hit record on the camera and then I've stuffed up something. Like I forgot to put in a memory card or my battery is low or my microphone is plugged into the headphone jack, not the microphone. And all the techies right now are thinking, oh no, what have I done to my camera that's set up at the moment? But I'm a team of one. I don't get any support setting up. So any mistake that I could have made, I've made it at some point in the almost 5,000 videos that I've got up there. So I forgive you, Kevin, for not going much through the backlog. There's plenty there. What that means is every now and then I will teach a lesson and the video will be unusable. It'll be out of focus or it'll be overexposed. And I'll think, okay, for some lessons, I'll just ignore it and I'll just forget about that video. But other lessons, I'll think, no, actually, this was a really important one. This student who maybe was the vice captain and was representing the school somewhere really needs that lesson. So I'll go back into the classroom, after school that day, and I will teach more or less the same lesson. I've still got all the notes prepared and the examples and what have you, and I teach to an empty room. And if you look closely, it's actually not that hard to tell which those lessons are because they're super flat. They're not interesting or engaging because I don't have human beings in there that I'm interacting with. So I think that my students being in there in the room, number one, when they're excited, my energy feeds off of them and I'm like, yes, you got the answer. It's really satisfying for me as a teacher. But also, if I look and I see glazed expressions or confused faces, that's an important indicator to me that whatever explanation that I prepared, it needs something else. And so I'll pivot and I'll give something that hopefully clarifies. And I think that people online maybe have tapped into the fact that, Oliver, I mean no disrespect, but teenagers, adolescents, they can be a tough crowd. And so they will not pull any punches if the lesson I give is unclear or unhelpful. And so I'm constantly using that feedback and shifting it and making it better, I hope. So I think that's part of what engages people online.
So in terms of advice, I'd like to ask, what is the best advice you've ever received?
Wow. I've received a lot of advice down the years, so it's hard to pin down one thing. I'd probably say life is too short to only learn from your own mistakes. You have to learn from others as well. I think that humility in being able to admit when, I don't know how to do this and I'm not an expert at it, but I know people who have knowledge and experience that can help me. Even people who sometimes I deeply disagree with, I learn a lot from them because that sharpens my thinking. And so coming back to this attitude of humility and saying, I've got something to learn from everyone, from my colleagues, from people across the world, from my students as well. I think that's critical to my growth as an educator. And something that goes along with that, it's not a piece of advice, but it fits in with why it's so important. I heard someone I respect who's been a leader in education for a really long time. He said to me, you can have 25 years of experience, or you could have 1 year of experience 25 times. And just being in the game for a long time is no guarantee that you've learned and grown and become better at what you do. So being deliberate about seeking out knowledge and growing, I think for me is a really important mindset.